Hi, welcome to the 3 at 3. I am Angela James, and we are going to talk writing and publishing today. I have three questions in from three different people, and they run the gamut of agents, editors, and writing. So I'm just going to get started. The first question for today is I was wondering if you could recommend agents who are willing to work with first time authors of African descent. This is a great question, and the answer is no, because I cannot recommend anybody for sure as a for sure thing. Every agent has their own kind of list that they're looking for. And while I know many agents are open to authors not just in the US, but also outside the US, and I know many agents are looking for authors from across all cultures and ethnic backgrounds, I can't say for sure about any one agent. What I can tell you is just a few things that you can look for in order to start narrowing down your search. So the first thing is if there are books by favorite authors who are of a similar background to you, look at those books that have been traditionally published by publishers and find out who's agenting them. It will usually say in the acknowledgments, but if it doesn't, you can often Google the author or ask the author who agented their book. That's one way to do it. The other way is to look at manuscript wish lists, MSWL. It's a hashtag on Twitter and it's also a website. Oftentimes, agents will specify if they're looking for authors of a particular background. And then you can also look at Publishers Marketplace. It's a $25 subscription. You can get it for 1 month and you can go through and see who is representing the deal announcements there. So that's just three quick ways. If you're interested in more ways, I did do a video on this for the From Written to Recommended Author community, and you're welcome to join there and partake of that video. So hopefully this helped. I know it is not the specific answer that you were looking for, but there is really no way for me to give a specific answer on behalf of somebody else. Best of luck. Question number two. If you use an editor who mainly edits romance, can you use them for a completely different genre that they are unfamiliar with, say a Western classic novel? I'm going to give a hard no here. I always recommend, I'm very consistent about recommending that you use editors who specialize in their genres. And when I say specialize, I actually still mean that in a pretty broad way. So, for instance, I do romance and I do contemporary, historical, paranormal romance, but I only do certain eras of historical. I don't do faith based romance of any kind. I do women's fiction, and I always say science fiction and fantasy has to be romance based. And then I do mysteries, thrillers. So it's a pretty broad way of of specializing. But I also know that there are sub niches within there that I would not be the best editor for. So if somebody came to me and asked me to edit a Western classic novel, and actually this has happened, my answer would be no, that I wouldn't do it. And the reason is again because I'm consistent in saying you want an editor who knows the genre that you're writing in, because having an editor with that knowledge is going to help you meet the market demand. It's going to help you meet reader expectations. It's going to improve the reader experience. You are not going to get a book with the best reader experience with an editor who has no knowledge of this genre that you're writing in. Western classic is wildly different than romance. Yes, some of the writing conventions are going to be the same. We can look for some of the line editing things, but when it comes to the story, and remember, the story is what's most important. The story is the thing. The story is the most important thing. When it comes to the story, they're not going to be able to tell you whether or not the story is satisfying on a genre level. And so my answer is no. You want an editor who knows the genre. And I'm sorry, I know this may mean that you need to search out a new editor, but that's okay. It's okay to work with more than one editor. Many authors do it, and many authors do it in a way that is really great for their career. All right, now question number three. What would you suggest for point of view when you want to write with an inconsistent timeline for either trad or indie? In other words, jumping from past to present and back again. Can you get away with dual first point of view? I am of the opinion that you can do pretty much anything as well as you do it really well in a way that keeps the reader in the story, engaged with the story, and knowing whose head they're in. Now, when we're talking about a close point of view, if you're jumping back and forth and you're going back and forth between points of view, it could be a little trickier. But if that's something that you feel called to do for the story, if you feel that your story needs this dual point of view and it needs this jumping from past to present and back again, then that's what you should try. I think you'll be able to find out whether or not it's working within a few chapters, and maybe you could have a critique group or some alpha readers read just the first few chapters and tell you whether or not it is working for them. But I'm not one to be like, no, you can't do that. I always say, yes, if you want to try it, you should try it. If you can do it well and make it work well and give the reader an excellent experience, then of course, why shouldn't you do that? Because that is something that the reader might enjoy. So if you were looking for permission, I mean, I guess I just gave you permission, but if you're not sure, if you're not exactly feeling it, then you might want to spend a little bit more time figuring out why, what your reservations are, and whether or not you're going to be able to address those reservations in the writing and in the storytelling. Okay, that is all three questions. Today went really quickly. I want to remind you that starting tomorrow, there is a very cool bundle coming. It is a bundle for my business mentor, Elizabeth Buckley Goddard, and she is doing a huge Christmas party giveaway. And when I say giveaway, I mean there are like I think 300 products that are free in the bundle, and then there's 120 products you can buy for the total of $100. In those two bundles, I'm giving away a free editing checklist course teaching you all about how to set up your editing process. And I'm also giving my pacing course. So you can buy that pacing course, which normally sells for $147 for $100, and then get all of the other things as well. Those links are coming tomorrow via my newsletter, and they'll also be on a pop-up on my website. Highly recommend that you check it out because I have seen the products in there, and there are a lot of products that are going to be relevant to you as an author, and some that are going to be relevant to you just as a person for hobbies and everyday things. Also, don't forget the next 3 at 3 is December 20th. If you've already got your questions in, your questions move to December 20th. If you haven't gotten your questions in, go ahead and get them in so that you are next in line. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I am so glad that we can continue to have these quick chats, and I look forward to seeing your questions for the next time. Have a great week, and I will see you on the other side.